Deuteronomy chapter 28, part 10. Listen carefully. This stuff is important here. We go to verse 45. All these curses will come on you. They will pursue you and overtake you until you are destroyed, because you did not obey the Lord your God and observe the commands and decrees he gave you. Observe is a play on words for obi, serve. Again, obi, kuro obi, black belt, right? Martial arts, right? Obi and Ebo. Obi is Ebo spelled backwards. Ebo spelled I-B-O. It's spelled I-G-B-O. It's also spelled E-B-O. So it's not a coincidence that the very word is the tribe's name spelled backwards, and it means king, heart, hut, essence, center, core. So in Japanese and in the martial art world, it means belt, which is a sign of rank, and in the Igbo language, it means king, heart, hut, essence, center, temple, core. And the Igbo is my father's tribe. Okay, so obi, serve, to observe, to obey the commands. So it says, because you did not obey the Lord your God and observe the commands and decrees he gave you, they will be a sign and a wonder to you and your descendants forever. So what did he say was the signs? He said these commands will be a sign. These plagues that overtake you will be a sign. And what will they be? He said, when your enemies defeat you. When the enemies defeat you in the essence of warfare. And what is the essence of warfare? It is martial arts, the spirit. Okay, the word spar, the phrase spar it is a play on words for spirit. In fact, the word spirit, to spear something, a spear. Spear it. Okay, so it's martial arts. It's get to the essence of the spirit of drawing a sword, the essence of the spirit of striking somebody with a spear. Christ was killed by the worldly spear, Christ was, after he was crucified, he was stabbed with the worldly spear of the Romans, who overkilled that the Western spirit was adverse to the Afro-Asiatic language of Hebrew and the accompanying spirit. Where the language is the spirit. In fact, the whore in Revelation, she's sitting on the waters. She sits by many waters, and they symbolize, it says right there in the chapter, that they symbolize peoples, nations, multitudes, and languages. So when you reject that it's an Afro-Asiatic language and that implications, you've come into the spirit of the whore who's said to be the great city that rules over the kings of the earth. Okay, places like London, places like Washington, D.C., places like the Vatican, places like Israel that rule over all the countries with the CIA and the Mossad and MI5 and MI6 and whatever organizations they have, whatever globalists and corporate partnerships and transnational corporations and conglomerates that they have ruling over the world. Okay, that's part of the process of the city as a center point, as a point of reference for the spirit that rules over the world, which is said to be Satan's spirit. Okay. So you see again, verse 46, write it down, because this part is key here. It says, they will be a sign and a wonder to you. A sign and a wonder, right? Awesome, awe, and sum total. Okay? Pretty straightforward. And again, it says that they will defeat them because they're doing the wrong thing. It says these plagues will overtake you. God will strike you with these plagues. Your enemies will defeat you. You'll flee from them in principle and in spirit, and so on and so forth. Okay? And they say that will be the signs. So it says, what signs and wonders can you perform? It says in Deuteronomy, right there in Deuteronomy 46, that the signs and the wonders that Christ performed first and foremost pertain to martial combat. They pertain to the plagues of those, the spiritual plagues and afflictions of those who don't have the heart, because they didn't cultivate heart in moral precision for generations like my family has. Kuro Obi, black belt is right there in their own Western, Eastern, Islander, you name it, martial arts systems where the belt points right to me and my deeds overkill it by far. Proven that I'm the Christos, the Christ, martial is marital scrambled, the bridegroom, martial and marital, marriage, bridegroom, the champion, Psalm 19. So you see, it is insane. It is insane to not rally and obey God through me. It is more insane to pretend that my logic isn't sound, to pretend that I didn't prove it. In fact, even in the word proof, it's a play on words for pro of. Pro of what? Profound, proclaim, pro-C-L-A-I-M. aim, the goals, the motives. The Lord weighs the heart and the motives. You see how that's overkill by far? And I'm right to be in the park right now propounding the truths of God, while the masses of so-called Christians, Muslims, Jews, and everyone else lies by their actions. By their actions, they're telling their families that it's okay to magically, it's okay or something to serve the frickin' despicable devil by your actions, with your heart pointed straight to the source of the temptations that the devil offers, instead of through the gate to the source of my heart, which is God Almighty, and the source of moral precision, true love, justice, and righteousness. There's no other way to look at it. It is impossible to hear the things that I'm saying in their original form from me, without anybody editing my videos, and to not know that I'm right. Impossible. You'd have to be so freaking crazy. The definition of delusion is when there's an abundance of sound evidence that's presented and you still reject that that's the logical conclusion. That's what's called being delusional. When you reject 1 + 1 in arithmetic equals 2, when there's an abundance of evidence. When you reject the wordplay, when there's an abundance of evidence that when used correctly, it's actually pointing to proofs in regards to who's Christ. When you reject the abundance of evidence that the masses of the churches just uphold social norms of the state and are completely slack in their work and absolutely refuse, for the souls of themselves and their families and their communities, they absolutely refuse to obey God through me. There's an abundance of evidence. They're guilty. God forbids you from going from there. God forbids you to follow anybody but me. If you don't know that, then you are batshit crazy, and your children should be taken away from you faster than the lightning strikes the ground, faster than the devil was thrown to the ground like the worm he is. There's no other way to look at it. Those who value the flesh of their children more than their souls are called complete bitches. Thank you.